Okay, so this is just a quick screencast to demonstrate the Exhibition Centre beacon system we're developing here at FrogPoint. So the idea behind the system is to enable exhibitors to push content to visitors or delegates via their mobile phones when they walk into range of a beacon. So this will become a bit clearer as we get into the demo, but prior to me starting we're going to have to use our imagination a little bit, as I'm obviously going to be demoing the system as if I'm an exhibitor and the delegate. I'll try to be as clear as possible as I'm walking through the system. Okay, so firstly I'm going to be looking at the content management system, or CMS. And let's assume the exhibition this week is a cloud IT exhibition. So I'm going to be logging in as if I'm an exhibitor called Wacky IT, so let's do that. Okay. Okay, so the purpose of the CMS is so that we can change the content that my beacons are pushing at any time throughout the exhibition simply by logging in and changing the settings. So where do these beacons come from? As you can see, I've got 3 beacons listed here. Well, the beacons themselves would have already been assigned to me prior to the event, so in this case I will have requested 3 beacons from the event organizer. I could of course request any number of beacons, but firstly you'd need a very large stand to really justify any more than a couple, and secondly the last thing you want to do is annoy your visitors by bombarding them with content when they're at your stand. So my 3 beacons are listed here. As you can see, I have 2, let's call them normal beacons, and 1 beacon called a delegate capture beacon. So what's that? Well, a delegate capture beacon enables me as an exhibitor to place a beacon somewhere within my exhibition stand visible to the visitors or delegates. Now let's say the visitor or delegate wants some information about my products, wants to be contacted later, or wants to be added to my email mailing list, for example. Maybe they haven't got time to talk right now, maybe they just don't want to. So what they can do is simply touch their phone on my delegate capture beacon within my stand, and all of their details are saved within my CMS for me to follow up with later. We'll have a little look at that later, but that's in the leads area there. So the other 2 beacons, the 2 beacons that we can actually push content with. Okay. Well, first of all, let's just have a quick look under this Getting Started tab, because it does give us some basic instructions here on what we can do. So setting up your beacons is simple. You can change the name of your beacons to something more memorable by clicking the Change Name buttons. Now, you can't click the Change Name with a Delegate Capture beacon, or you can, but it will tell you that you can't change the name. Delegate Capture beacons cannot be changed. Okay, that's because they're pre-configured. But the other 2 beacons, we can change that to whatever we want. So let's call this, I don't know, we might want to push a message from this shortly, so to make it more memorable, just call this message beacon and hit save. And as you see, that beacon has now changed its name to message beacon. So these are purely for your own reference, just so you can keep track. If you did, for example, have a whole number of beacons listed here, just so you can keep track of what they are. You can call them whatever you want. Okay, so to assign an action for the beacon, click the Assign Action button, this one down here. Choose an action for the beacon to do when a person is within range. Fill in the details on screen to set up the selected action, and you're all done. So there's a little note here: if you've been assigned a delegate capture beacon, you cannot change the beacon name or action. This beacon is preset. As we said, you can't change anything to do with this. Hence the reason it says not applicable and not applicable in here. The delegate's contact information captured from your delegate capture beacon will be shown in the table on the leads page. Again, we'll look at that a bit later, because right now there's nothing in there, as you would expect. So let's assign an action to our message beacon. So as you can see, when we click on the Assign Action button for this beacon, we get one of 4 options: a message, URL, a timer, or a coupon. So as we've already called the beacon a message beacon, let's assign it a message to push. Okay, set change the message that the beacon will push and display on the user device. So the message to push, so let's say 20% off now at Wacky IT stand 36B. Let's just assume my stand within the exhibition stand 36B. Now, set the beacon range. So what is this? Well, effectively beacons work within 3 predefined ranges or settings. So we can choose for the beacon to trigger our message only when the user is within immediate proximity of the beacon. So immediate proximity, as we can see here, it's around 30 centimeters or so. Near is around 5 meters and far is around 20 meters. Now, I wouldn't recommend using far very often unless you have a very specific reason to do so. Near, so around the 5 meter mark, is optimal, generally speaking, for these kind of applications. Therefore, when a user walks partial stand, it should trigger. It should trigger the action. So let's click near and save. So as you can see now in the action type next to our message beacon, it's telling us the action type is message, and the action content 20% off now at Wacky IT stand 36B. Fantastic. Okay, so let's do the same for our second beacon. Let's just change the name of this to, I don't know, let's call it Countdown Beacon. And we'll save the name. Again, this could be anything you wanted. And assign action, but this time we'll go for a timer. So let's put in, say for example, the offer title 10% off, and actually that's perfect, isn't it? The suggestion that it's giving us there, cloud services for the next 60 minutes only, that will do nicely. And we can put in here 60 minutes. So as we put cloud services for the next 60 minutes, obviously we're going to put in an offer expiry of 60 minutes. Set the beacon range. So again, we'll stick with near here, which is the default setting here. And click save. Okay, so again, beacon name countdown timer. It's given us the action type of timer and the action content 10% off cloud services for the next 60 minutes only, and it tells us in brackets how many minutes we've actually entered. Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll go over to the actual application and the mobile phone application and see these 2 pieces of content actually being displayed on the user's device. Okay, so let's have a look at the app. So obviously this is the first time, or we have to imagine it's the first time we're using this app, so we'll sign up. I'll just use my details here. And it will become clear later why we're filling in these details. Just give it a fairly arbitrary password for now. Okay, so the first time we sign up, or the first time we log in, we'll be presented with this message just giving us a very brief overview of the app itself, just telling us it's beacon enabled, meaning we'll receive content dynamically as we walk around. Also informing us that we can choose to turn on or off the notification types depending on the categories, which we can do in the preferences screen. It also tells us we can register our details with an exhibitor by tapping our phone on the Register Me beacon if they have one. The Register Me beacon is the delegate capture beacon that we briefly touched on in the CMS, and we'll look at that in more depth shortly. Okay, got it. Okay, so the first page that we're presented with upon logging in is, in this particular instance, it's the Cloud World Forum page, which is an event that's happening over a couple of days at Olympia in London. Now, this page isn't hard-coded into the app. It is a web page, but it's actually pulling in the URL, the web page address from the database, in our cloud-based database. So effectively, we can update that URL at any point. Obviously, meaning that we don't have to uninstall and reinstall a new app on the device each time we go to Olympia, because the web page is completely dynamic, so that can be changed at any point. We've just put this one on here, obviously as an example web page, but it could be anything that the event organizer likes. So let's have a look at the menu. Okay, so we have a list of menu items down the side. We'll go through them one by one. So if I click on the next one down, the saved offers, as you would expect, there's no offers in here. We've just signed up, so we wouldn't have any offers, and it correctly tells us so. What eventually will be in here is a list of all the different types of content that we've received from the beacons as we've walked around. And we'll come back to that when we've actually collected some content. Business cards. Now, again, we won't have any business cards because we've just signed up, but effectively what will be in here will be, if we use the delegate capture beacon or the Register Me beacon, so let's say, for example, we're looking at an exhibition, we want to leave our details with the exhibitor, which again we'll do shortly and demonstrate that. But as well as giving our details to the exhibitor, it also pulls their details back into the app and leaves us with a little business card in here. So we have their details as well. But again, we'll come back to that. Floor plan. So again, this floor plan isn't in any way hard-coded into the app, so this is just a URL that we're pointing at again. And again, this URL can be changed in the admin portion of the CMS. So obviously this floor plan won't be relevant for the next exhibition, nor will the homepage. This is purely for the Cloud World Forum example exhibition that we're using. So again, that can be changed at any point, and the next time the user logs back into the app and clicks on floor plan, it will be updated with the new floor plan. Exhibitor list. Again, this is just another web page that we're pointing at. So assuming the exhibition has got a web page listing all the exhibitors, we can just point at that. And again, it will be updated as and when the event organizer chooses to do so. So again, nothing particularly clever happening here. It's just pointing at a web page. Preferences. Okay, so as we said earlier, we can choose to turn on or off different categories of beacons. So if we don't want to receive information or offers on food and drink, we can turn that off, and those beacons that have been assigned a category of food or drink will simply be ignored. And the same for exhibitor offers, information, or general information. So my profile. So these are the details that we typed in on sign up. We can change those in there and update them. And again, that will become evident as to why that's useful shortly. Okay, let's go back to the home page. Okay, so let's have a look at some content coming in from beacons. So if you remember in the CMS, when we logged in as Wacky IT, our example exhibitor, we set up a message to be displayed when we came in contact with the beacon. So let's have a look at that working. Okay, so there's our message. So we walked within approximately 5 meters of the beacon, and we were presented with the message that was typed in the CMS. So let's click OK. So where's that been stored, if anywhere? Well, if you remember, in the menu we had the saved offers. We can click on saved offers, and that message has now been stored in the received content. So let's go back to the home page, and we'll have a look at the countdown beacon, the timer that we set up in the CMS. Okay, so let's walk in the range of the beacon. There we go, and it's brought up the timer. So again, all the details in here you can see have all been pulled in dynamically from the CMS on the fly. So if we change any message or any content, any offer description in the CMS, that is what will be shown on the user device. And as you can see, it's counting down from 60 being the number of minutes that we set in the CMS that our offer is valid for. Okay. And again, if we go back into saved offers, and there it is. And of course we can open any of these again by clicking on them. Okay, now notice when we opened the countdown timer this time, it's not actually counting down, it just gives us a start and expiry date and time. Let's go back to the home page. Okay, so let's have a quick look at a couple of other types of content that we can push. So obviously when we logged in as Wacky IT, we only set up the message and the countdown timer, but if you remember, there were two others. There was also a URL and a coupon that we could set up. So let's have a look at those two types of content. So let's do the coupon first. So we receive an offer alert. Would you like to view the offer from Coffee Company? Yes, please. Okay, and this is the coupon that pops up. So again, all of these fields would be set up within the CMS, and all of this data is pulled in dynamically. Okay, again, that will be saved under the My Offers section. So let's have a look at URL. So all this is doing when we walk within the range of a beacon, it will inform us that, in this case, Sirius Systems Limited have some information for us to view. Would we like to view it? So if we click yes, please, this is simply redirecting us to a URL. So in this case, it's giving us pricing information about their products. But again, that URL could be anything that the exhibitor wants. We'll click OK just to go back. So now when we go back to the saved offers, we have 4 items in there. So our top one being the web page from Sirius Systems, we have the message from Wacky IT, the timer from Wacky IT, and a coupon from the Coffee Company. And obviously we can open any of these or delete them as we wish. Okay, now the last thing to demonstrate in the app before we go back to the CMS is the Register Me beacon. So as we said, if we were walking around the exhibition centre and we came to an exhibitor, we just want to leave our details with them. We don't particularly want to engage anybody. Perhaps they're busy, perhaps we don't want to talk to anybody, whatever the reason might be. We just want to leave our details with them so they can contact us later or provide us some information. So we can do that by simply tapping our phone on their Register Me beacon. It asks us if we'd like to register our details with the exhibitor. We hit yes please. Okay, then we get 3 options which we can tick or untick. Please call me when convenient, please send me your brochure, please add me to your mailing list. So let's tick all of those, and let's type in please send me pricing details, for example. Obviously we could type in anything we liked, click OK. And it informs us that our details have been saved with the exhibitor and thanks us. How nice. Okay, so as you'd expect, our details have now been saved with the exhibitor. So in a minute we'll log back in as Wacky IT, and we'll see what that's done over in the CMS side. But as I said, it's also done something over here. So if we go to business cards now, what it's done is it's pulled in the details and a contact name of somebody that we can contact directly if we wish to. So we can click on that and it'll open up a little business card with the contact name, contact phone number and a web address. Okay, so let's go back over to the CMS now, and we'll have a look and see what the Register Me beacon, or the delegate capture beacon, has done over there for the exhibitor. Okay, so if we log back into the CMS again as Wacky IT as we did before, and this time we'll go on to the leads page, and this will show us our list of leads that we've generated. And here is me as I logged from when I logged in as the delegate. It's passed across all my details, including the email, my phone number, and if you remember the 3 checkboxes that we tapped on for the information for the mailing list and the call me, and it's converted my ticks into yeses there, and it's included my message, please send me pricing details. So as you can imagine, this is a really useful feature for exhibitors to collect details of visitors or delegates that perhaps don't want to stand there and talk, or don't have the time, or if you're busy or whatever. Just a very simple way for people to pass over their details for you to contact them later. So the other useful thing we can do with this table is we can click the Export to Excel button. It speaks for itself. Obviously that will just export this table of leads into an Excel format so that the exhibitor can do whatever they wish with those leads. Use them, to import them into their own systems, or sort them, by who wants calling, who wants mailing, whatever they might do. But it enables the exhibitor to export it into a very useful format and to keep that data. Okay, so the other page that we have here, other than the beacons and the leads, which we've covered, is the Analytics tab. So if we click on that, okay, so this page shows you how your beacons have performed. An interaction is when a beacon has pushed some content to a user device. Delegate detail capture does not count as an interaction. Now that's something we're actually thinking about changing, because it might be quite useful to include that information within the interactions, although that is fairly obvious from the leads. Having said that, at the moment the delegate capture beacon is listed here, so we need to make a decision one way or the other on that. We'll either remove it from here completely, or it will give you an indication of how many interactions there have been on the delegate capture beacon as well. But for now, it's just using our normal beacons, if you like, and giving us analytics against those. So as you can see, 4 beacon interactions, 2 on the message beacon, 2 on the countdown beacon, and again it's giving us a male and female split here, but as you can see, it's just been male at the moment. This chart down here, again, this is a work in progress. This is something we're working on at the moment to try and give us some ideas of interactions over time, which will be useful, I think, for seeing trends over time over the course of a day to see which hours we get most interactivity. So that's something we're working on right now. Okay, I'm back to the beacons page, and I think that's about it. We've pretty much covered what the exhibitor would see from logging in. We have some basic instructions here on how to set the beacons up, and we've tried to keep the CMS as clutter free, as simple as possible, so it is a very clean user interface. Beacons, leads and analytics, it's all fairly self-explanatory, I think. If you were to log in as a super user, so if you were to log in as the exhibition organizer, you would also see an admin tab here, which would enable you to add new merchants and assign beacons to those merchants. So if you're wondering how that happened, that's how we do that. I'm not going to cover that right now, but it's very straightforward again. Okay, I think that's it for now. Thanks very much.